We're back with more in today's politics lead and new momentum for Senator Bernie Sanders. His victory in Michigan against Hillary Clinton put him on the path to boosting his tally of delegates. Next week's primary calendar includes Illinois, Missouri, and Ohio. Like Michigan, Midwestern states with a heavy blue-collar base, the three making up more than half of the 691 delegates that are still up for grabs. So how do the candidates shape their messages going forward to win those delegates? And into tonight's debate, two CNN political commentators joining me now, Van Jones here in Washington and Bill Press, who is a Bernie Sanders supporter. He's joining us now from Chicago. Van, if I could begin with you, how surprised was the Sanders campaign even by last night's results?
It was a shocker to everyone. Obviously, they had Senator Sanders like sneaking out of town. They didn't even wait for the results to roll him out. Had he lost, the entire rationale for his candidacy would have completely collapsed. It would have proven this knock on him that he cannot grow among black voters and that his trade message doesn't work in the North. It turns out he did grow among black voters. His message does resonate, and also he found an issue, a sleeper issue around the home foreclosure crisis up there that also helped him to break through. A stunner for the Clintons, who, by the way, had every Clinton ever born in Michigan. They had Chelsea, they had Bill, they had Hillary, they had Sox, they had Buddy, they had every Clinton ever, and they still got beat. A stunner.
So, and of course, Mitt Romney with the Michigan pass didn't help his chosen candidate there on the Republican side. But Bill Press, looking at this, I mean, particularly it's with those blue-collar voters, right, which was a big issue there and spelling some concern for Hillary Clinton going forward. But I wonder how does Bernie Sanders capitalize on his gains in Michigan with these primaries we have coming up next week, particularly in Illinois and Missouri and Ohio with a similar kind of makeup?
Well, you know, I think it's interesting. I don't think Bernie has had to retool his campaign at all. He just keeps plugging away at the same message. And, you know, for the last, I don't know, how long, Van? 6 months? Or certainly for the last week, all we've heard from the Clinton campaign is, come on, Bernie, it's time to fold the math is against you, time to fold your tent, time to get out of here. It's really all over. And Bernie kept saying, no, our best days are ahead of us. The best states, the most promising states are ahead of us. And it turns out he was right. So I think that there's an authenticity here, I believe, on the trade deals. Even the Democratic establishment don't get the anxiety among people, the pain, to use Van's words, that people at the bottom feel about these trade deals, about jobs, about the economy. Bernie's been speaking to that. It carried through in Michigan. He was against NAFTA from the beginning. He was against TPP from the beginning. And people know that, despite what Karen said, Hillary was not. And so that's Bernie's message. I think last night's win really propels him, gives him really good momentum, of course, going into Ohio, Illinois, and Missouri.
So Van Jones, last Democratic debate was fiery, as we know. Yeah. After that kind of loss from the Hillary Clinton strategy, does she change her approach at all in tonight's debate versus Sanders?
This is going to be the big mystery that everybody's going to be looking for. I thought her attempt to pretend that Bernie Sanders was against the auto bailout was one of the low moments of the campaign. I mean, it's just completely not true. I mean, he voted for the bailout. He just didn't want it mixed in with the Wall Street stuff. If she continues to go down that road, since she's still likely to win, I mean, let's be clear, Bernie Sanders will have to start winning 60-40 to overcome her. So she's still the presumptive nominee. He could catch her, but it'd be hard. She's going to have to pull his party back together. And if she does those kind of cheap shots all night long, I think it's harder for her long term.
Bill, I want to ask you, so on paper, you look at the economy, it does seem to be improving. Unemployment remains lowest point since 2008. Yes. Gas prices, as we know, far cheaper than a year ago. But this last number appears to be the key. The median income in the U.S., around $53,000. When you adjust for inflation, that number hasn't budged much in decades. A lot of people feel poorer, in fact, than they were 10 years ago or so. Is that really the source of the anger from the voters who are supporting Bernie Sanders?
No, I think it is. I think Bernie has tapped into that, and strangely enough, Donald Trump has tapped into that on the other side, which, by the way, gets to your point earlier with Karen, Jim, I thought was absolutely right on. Democrats have to be thinking about that key message in November. But look, at the bottom, and Bernie always says it, right, the gains have gone all the way to the top. Millions and millions of Americans in that 99% are really struggling with the same wages or lower wages and higher costs for college tuition, just making their payments at the end of the month. And they feel that the Democratic establishment, as well as the Republican establishment, has abandoned them. And Bernie comes along as a champion who says, yeah, let's shake up the Democratic Party too.